Heyo, welcome to Storycraft Studio. Today we're going to be closing out this sketchbook I started in 2017. I have a tradition where the first page of sketchbook I do an illustration, and then at the end of the sketchbook I do the same illustration again with updates to the pose and the costume, just based on my aesthetic and my understanding of stuff to see how I have grown in my art. This first illustration, as I said, was from 2017, October, and this last one was May 2nd this year, 2020. And unfortunately, this was one of my first times trying to record it, and I discovered after doing a whole batch of these that I have a hard time getting... I'm not very comfortable recording my initial sketches to draw the figure, and that causes issues. So this is... This sketch it's a good exercise, and you guys, I figured you'd want to see it, but it is not the best portrayal of my skills. So after I finished this one, I came back later in the month and did a second draw of this character, and I think that's a much better representation of my skills and also a modified way of me figuring out how to draw on camera for you guys. Now, I could go on a whole explanation of where I think I went wrong, because there's lots of errors, but in all honesty, that would irritate my sister to death. Oh my god, she just... Whenever I ask her about videos, she's always says, but you talk down of your own skills. I'm like, I have a self-deprecating sense of humor. It's just that nobody knows about it because it's mostly in my head. But anyway, I know it's not my best drawing, and I know I can do better, and I'm going to do better, so I'm not going to go into all the things that went wrong, because this is not a bad drawing. It's got its merits, it's really cute, and the end result is fine. It's just, it's not my best, so I'm not going to criticize it. I've done a better version I'm much happier with, but... So, yeah, but, I go in with blue lines, and pretty quickly at this point, I know I'm not happy. There are a lot of things that I'm not happy about with this sketch. And I was really happy with the original drawing. I was super proud of myself when I did that first drawing. And this one I did not feel was as good. There were things that went wrong. And I was not happy with that. So, in a vain attempt to improve it, I'm gonna ink it. See, this is where I'm erasing the lines to start inking it with my brush pens, and the problem is that I'm not comfortable with my brush pens yet. I don't use them enough. I need to use them more. It's just that I got the brush pens, and then I realized that I would much prefer the softer lines of using pencil lead, mechanical pencils, to do the lines instead of harsh ink. So that is a thing, especially, also there's the double fact that brush pens don't erase well. So I lighten the sketch, then I do the ink, and then I try to erase the rest of the sketch, and it smudges. So that's heartbreaking. I'm gonna figure it out at some point and do more ink, but not now. But so here I start doing the color pencils. I really like working with color pencils. They're my most natural medium aside from digital ink, but that's still something I'm learning to do. But so color pencils, working on it. This was before I did this sketch, before I did the fashion illustrations for Mermaid, and I hadn't figured out the water trick to smooth out the lines, because that was why I stopped doing color pencils, is because I hated how grainy it looked and how you could see the strokes, and it really bothered me. Since then, I've learned some techniques to smooth them out, and also I discovered how to use the watercolor pencils, the watercolor effect of watercolor pencils to do smooth. Unfortunately, I used a mix of normal and watercolors, so I couldn't have done that anyway. But I don't have I've grown up and learned to live with the sketchiness. It's what it is, and it's what it's going to be, and that's fine. Just like the sketch, it's what it's going to be, and I can live with it. But yeah, this is just me building the color. The original sketch did not have a color version. This one I came up with. I'm not 100% sure this is the right color sketch for this character, but in this instant, it looks really cute. And yeah, this is just keep adding color, keep going back and forth. I use a lot of my metallic color pencils for silver and some highlights in her hair, some details in her hair, just here and there. They add a really nice little touch that isn't always captured well in camera, but in person, I really, really enjoy them. I really love using any kind of metallics, any kind of shine in my art, even though I usually post it online and you can't tell, and it's heartbreaking, but that's how it is. But yeah, this simple spring colored color palette, and I don't like the sketch overall, but I don't think it came out horrible. It's a nice sketch, and we are now going to see the final results next to the original. And there we have it, October 3rd, 2017 next to May 2nd, 2020. Not a bad sketch, but not what I want my style to be or where my skills are, so we're gonna go and do it again. So the first thing that's different about this sketch is that before I even got on camera, I got my yellow color pencil and did the figure, which means that I'm building off of something I know is right. Because that's the problem, is that the foundation was wrong on the first one because I did not have the right angle for how I'm used to drawing to do it. And so doing these yellow figures beforehand, I'm able to get the clothes and the proportions and everything right before I even come on camera. Usually I just leave it yellow because then it's invisible, basically invisible to the camera, but it was so pale even to me before it got on camera that I had to do a little bit of brown. But that way I could figure out what I was drawing, and I wasn't trying to build from scratch with a weird angle that I wasn't comfortable with. Also, I changed the dress design again. I brought back her kind of weird vest and turned it into this coat with this really elegant high collar. And then I turned her weird tiara thing into a forehead tiara, which I think is much cuter. The eye patch stays because it's part of who she is, which I'm going to talk about right now. I started the 2017 sketchbook when I was developing this story called Flowers from Stone. It's based on this idea someone shared on Tumblr back when I was on there all the time. The idea was this old king has no heir. He sets a challenge for all the children of the kingdom, giving them a seed and telling them he will choose his successor in 3 months' time. The deadline arrives and the children arrive with plants of all shapes and sizes, and one boy with an empty pot. The king chooses him. Reason? The seeds were sterile, so all the other kids cheated and got new seeds, but the boy chose honesty. Typical fairy tale moral of honesty is rewarded. Of course, this is Tumblr, so someone had a better idea. The king should have chosen the kid with the largest plant of the same species as the original seed, because this kid figured out the seed was sterile, researched it, and got a new one before anyone else, proving he was clever. And in the real world, a ruler needs to be clever more than honest. In my version, the boy brings both, proving himself clever, but also honest with the king. But he's not my main character. This girl is. She is an orphan, the oldest in the orphanage. Despite being sweet, smart, and hardworking, no one wants to adopt her because she lost her eye and people think she's broken. People were awful like that back then. Well, this girl decides to get a seed, not because she thinks she could be queen, but to make the other kids feel part of the normal kingdom. All the other children are growing the king's seeds, and they will too. But they have to get their own supplies. First, they need a pot. So the girl works for the pottery maker for the day to earn a little pot. Next, they need soil. So the girl works for a farmer for a day and is given good soil to plant the seed in. The plant isn't growing though, so the girl asks the apothecary what to do. He realizes that her seed is actually a stone. The royal official who gave her the seed had run out and didn't think she could do it anyway. She's an orphan and the seeds are sterile. What is she gonna do? So he just gave her a pebble. Whee. The girl is heartbroken. She won't be able to grow it for the other orphans. But the apothecary sends her to the witch who could solve her problem. The witch hears her story and offers her a potion that will grow a beautiful flower. The girl works for her for a week to earn the potion and uses it. A beautiful and strange plant grows, but the bud doesn't blossom. The the witch explains that the flower needs the king's blessing to bloom. The deadline arrives and the children gather for the king. Again, they've got all species and sizes, and this one boy has a large plant and an empty pot. The king is about to choose him when the girl and her fellow orphans push their way through. The girl asks for the king's blessing on her plant, and he asks why. Well, the girl has some very chatty 4-year-olds in tow who happily explain the girl's quest to grow a plant for the other orphans. The king is wildly impressed with her determination, wisdom, and kindness, and happily gives his blessing. The flower blooms magical and without peer, but in its petals is a beautiful tiara, perfect for a princess. The king picks up the tiara and puts it on the girl's head, naming her his heir for her kindness, her hard work, and her honesty. He adopts her and the other orphans and spends the rest of his days teaching her to rule his kingdom and surrounded by the love of his new family. The end. Someday I plan to bring this story to life. I've got this, but it's just that I've got this B plot with this evil nephew sabotaging the other kids and like totally ignoring the orphan because she's an orphan. I'm still trying to figure out how that works, how it all goes, or if I even want to do it, or just make it this really simple story about this orphan working really hard. Until I've got it figured out, we have our hardworking orphan here in her princess clothes. Yeah. A marked improvement from the previous redraw of this illustration. I changed her pose obviously and her clothes, and I think it came out much better. It's a much better showcase of my abilities as an artist, and I hope you like her as much as I do. Mahalo for watching, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and check out my Instagram at Storycraft Studio. I'm on there pretty often if you want to keep up with what projects I've got going on. See you all soon. Aloha!